All right, welcome everyone to the SOV Horror Podcast, the podcast where we talk to filmmakers and fans of shot on video horror films. I'm your host, Tony from SOVHORROR.com. And before we get into our guests this week, I just want to get into our plugs for next month. October's coming up, and we have a really cool release coming out for you guys. It's a movie called Metal Maniac. And this is a heavy metal slasher movie. It's a lot of fun. It has a really great heavy metal soundtrack, like Nasty Savage, Deceased, and a whole bunch of other bands. This movie's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. You guys know I only put out stuff I like, so this one's really good. This is coming out October 1st. And then one other thing we're doing October 1st is, people always email me and go, hey, Tony, how can I get this out-of-print release and this out-of-print release? And so for Halloween, to celebrate the season, we've decided all of our out-of-print titles are going to be available for a limited 2-week period. So from October 1st to the 15th, we're bringing back all the out-of-print titles. So we got The Roommate, we got The Shape, we got Deck the Halls with Humple Foreskin, we have Assault of the Snake Man with Moopit Pastor, and we also have Specimen 6. This is the last time I'm making these available, guys. So definitely don't miss out, and they're going to be pretty cheap, so you can definitely buy them, put them in stocking stuffers for whatever. But today, we're here to talk to the man of the hour. Last month, we just released a great classic shot-on-video movie. It's one of my favorites. I first saw this movie when I rented it back in the early 90s. When it first came out, it was literally on the new release wall. And actually, I still have the VHS right here. It's a little movie called Writer's Block, aka Truth or Dare Part 2. And we're joined by the director of Writer's Block, Mr. Chris LaMont. Hey, Chris.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
It's so great to have you on, Chris, and to finally talk. We've worked together now for well over a year on this release, and we're just finally kind of actually talking in person, which is really cool.
Well, I appreciate you, knowing the movie and, tracking me down and meeting up with Steven Ferrandino and this whole thing just really was really exciting for us and for you to, choose our film as, one of your releases, Tony, for an audience that loves these kind of films. I mean, it's really an honor and privilege, honestly, for us as, to be involved with what you and your audience love.
Oh, thanks so much, Chris. When I started this company, I had like a handful of titles that I was like, these are movies I really want to get out. And Writer's Block was on my list of initial, of 15 titles I had. Writer's Block was on that list because
wow.
Like I said, I rented it first in the early 90s. And what really stuck out to me, other than the Truth or Dare thing, which we'll get into that a little later, but what really stuck out to me when I actually watched the movie was just how well produced it was. I mean, it was not your typical shot on video movie. You had very good actors in it, good production value, a great script. I mean, amazing performances, and even some good gory special effects. So it really stood out from the crowd, because at the time, even especially the early 90s, you still didn't see a lot of polished shot on video movies. There was a handful of them, but not really many. And most of them, would kind of go for an exploitation type element. And I think that's what kind of sets Writer's Block apart a little bit, is it's probably more Hitchcock than Herschel Gordon Lewis, so to speak. So I guess to kind of really just get started, how did you kind of hook up with the people from Dead Alive, and how did you get involved with the project?
Well, the first feature I had in college, I had a bunch of our friends, and we actually did a public access TV show, and we did a sketch comedy show called TV or Not TV, and it was along the veins of Saturday Night Live, where everyone's writing sketches. We had an ensemble, and it was great. But film was always my love. I gone to school. I went to school for a really long time. It took me a while to get my degree, but we took the sketch comedy ideas. We took the best sketches that we had, and we actually compiled it into a feature film, sort of like Kentucky Fried Movie, a sketch comedy movie, which we called the best movie ever made. We did that, Tony, simply because all the reviews would call it the best movie ever made. So we thought that we'd be locking ourselves in. So on the poster we said the best movie ever made, Arizona Republic, the best movie ever made. It was pretty funny. And so Yvette Hoffman, who ran Dead Alive at that time, and Darren Ramage, who I'm sure you know, Darren was working for her at the time, and Yvette saw the feature film because I co-directed that. And one of our acquaintances, one of our friends, Cheo, brought me in and said, "Hey, Chris is really good at making movies. Is there something maybe that, something that you might be interested in working with them?" And of course, Dead Alive is, they did Traces of Death. They had a very, a very lucrative catalog of films. They had basically a conveyor belt of doing these, SOV horror films. Mm-hmm. And so when they came to me, they're like, well, we want to do horror films. And Tony, this is the part that frustrates my writing partner, Joe Russo, a lot. I don't like horror movies. I don't like, because I've seen, hundreds and hundreds of them. Okay. I've seen thousands of movies. I know how they work. I understand, when there's a music hit. I understand that they're all shot in close up. Okay. And then something pops out. I get all that. The thing is that I get sucked in every time. Doesn't matter how many films I've seen. I get sucked into the story and willing suspension of disbelief, and I'm all in. And so I get scared at these movies. It probably has. This is a great quick story. Is that when I was young, I went to the movies, and I was really young, and E.T. was playing. So this, you can kind of guess how old I am. But so I went with my friend. And so we went in to watch E.T. and we're sitting in E.T. and we got in late, which always, you hate doing that. But, we were young and so we didn't know. So we sat down, and on the screen, suddenly there's this pool, and there's a storm coming, and this girl falls in the pool, and she's going around, and then the mud, and suddenly these corpses start coming out of the pool. And it's Poltergeist. We had accidentally walked into Poltergeist. And so I turned to my friend Greg, and I'm like, this is not E.T. And we ran out of the theater. And maybe that may have something to do with the fact that horror, emotionally affects me. I get scared. I still get scared. I'm writing horror films with Joe, my writing partner. But I still, I'm emotionally in all the time. So that's the thing, is that she wanted me to do a horror film. And I said, well, I'm really more interested in suspense thriller. I'm a big Hitchcock fan. And she says, well, yeah, you could put all that stuff in. That's fine. But, it needs to be a horror movie. So I'm like, all right. So I had a friend, April French, who was a friend of mine in LA. And she had a short story. And I said, that would be a really good feature. And then she optioned the story. And I had some friends, Alec and Francesca, who took first crack at the script. And then me and Greg Hall, one of the producers on the movie, we did the final draft on the script. So that's why there's a bunch of story buys and scripts written buys on the movie. But it was a real labor of love. It was I loving Hitchcock, loving filmmaking. This was to me, this was like my big chance to make something really special. And after Best Movie, we put together a great crew. We knew all the actors in Phoenix because I've been working with all these actors on the feature. So we were able to put together a really, really good cast. And the script is good. I watched the film over again a couple of times because I did the director's commentary for your DVD, and I put together the director's cut. After I watched the original, I'm like, man, I really wish I could remake this movie. And I also said, damn, I wish I could have shot this in 16 millimeter, but then it wouldn't be released on your platform. but yeah, it was, we turned it in, and it wasn't exactly what Yvette was looking for. She read the script, she approved the script, great. Shot the movie, and then when Yvette saw the first cut, she was actually really, really pissed at me, Tony. She was really mad. She's like, where's all the blood? I'm like, what? She goes, it's a horror film. I go, well, it's not really. Oh, it's more of a suspense story. She goes, it's a horror film. That's the shelf it's going on at the video store. So you need to add more blood. You need more. And we're like, okay. And that was she was really creative. The ice block scene
Mm-hmm.
That was all her. She came up with that whole thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And but well, there's a crucifixion scene in there, and there's the throat cuts and the strangulations and all that. I mean, but it's not gory, it's not ghastly. I mean, all the kills happen, as it's integral to the story. There's nothing really sensational in regards to the kills in the movie. And I think that's why when you compare it to the other projects or the other films in the Dead Alive and a lot of the other films that you have, in your catalog, it's like it's really, really different because we never strove to make a horror film, but it ended up, I don't know if it is a horror film, honestly, because I mean there's some interesting kills, but it's not a serial killer movie. It's not a slasher film. So I don't know. But that was the journey. And then, so she said we needed more blood and scenes. We actually had to go back and do pickups with some just close-ups of blood dripping but eventually it got released. And, the thing I'm most proud of is because I saw it on the Blockbuster video store, just like you did, Tony. And I was all jacked up about it. And then I saw that we got a review in the Blockbuster video guide, which to me was amazing. Like somehow they got fooled into thinking this was a regular movie when they watched it and not just an SOV horror film. And they gave us 3.5 out of 5 stars, man, and it was just like, wow. And they said that if, Chris LaMont has, all the makings of a Hitchcock-esque director. I'm just like, this is the greatest thing ever. But what happened, unfortunately, is that Dead Alive were not happy. They weren't happy with the creative direction that we basically took with the film. She wasn't happy. She didn't think there wasn't enough blood. And basically that was the last film that we did for them. And then Dead Alive went out of business a couple of years later. So, but our film's still there, and luckily you found it, and hopefully there's a whole new audience that's gonna find the film now.
No, yeah, that's really cool. And I don't know if you had a chance to check out the audio interview we did with Tim Ritter. He was the guy who directed the original Truth or Dare movie.
Yeah. I did not. So I'm curious on his take on all this.
Yeah, I did. I recommend you check it out. I don't want to spoil it all for you, but long story short, he was originally attached to actually do. Well, the way it pretty much came about was he had already made a Truth or Dare Part 2. It was called Wicked Games Truth or Dare Part 2.
Right.
Yvette was selling it for him to various distributors and vendors, and it was really successful for her. And the story he told is that it was so successful for Yvette that she wanted another Truth or Dare 2. And he was trying to say, well, I already did Truth or Dare 2. Let's do Truth or Dare 3. And she's like, no, I want Truth or Dare 2. And I guess they worked on this concept for quite a while. And then eventually she just stopped returning calls and whatnot. And he discovered writer's block some years later, which is and he actually, I think you'll love to hear this. He actually loved the movie. He thinks it's a really great movie, and he really enjoyed it. And he's a great filmmaker in his own right as well as a novelist himself, another writer. But it's kind of interesting how the project started with him, and then, somehow at some point you got involved and but obviously you made it your own. And I guess my question and what I was kind of going with this is, did you at all go back and watch the original Truth or Dare? Did Yvette say, hey, check out these movies, this is what we're aiming for, or anything like that?
Well, to be honest, no. I never saw the original films. Never saw. And again, remember, I'm not a big horror film fan.
Right.
But I knew that was not the kind of film that I wanted to make. But Yvette was insistent. She goes, "You have to tie it into Truth or Dare." And it's like, okay, well, we'll figure out a way to. And she goes, "And you need to put scenes from the other film in the movie." And I'm like, okay. And then, so that's when we came up with the conceit about, because the original story was about, a guy who basically finds a book at a bookstore and discovers it's a serial killer. And so that's when we sort of came up with this idea about a teenager. And of course, all the rage back then was, blaming violent crime on horror movies.
Mhm.
So that's why in the movie, like, Elliot has his secret stash under the stairs and he's watching these horror films all the time. And so basically it's justifying his actions when he goes and kills his family. That's not a spoiler alert, by the way. That's the first 5 minutes of the movie. So we're like, okay, well, what if the movies that inspired Elliot were these various films in the Dead Alive catalog? So it's kind of a meta thing, before there was a meta, before that term existed. But it's like, all right, yeah, well, let's and so there's clips from from that film. There's a bunch of other films, and we're like, let's find the most sensational, exploitive images that we possibly can. And we're gonna put it into that 15-second beat in the beginning in Act 1, to kind of lay the groundwork for the character. And then it's never brought up again.
Right.
And then the idea is that Elliot got into this this truth or dare game, and we're trying to figure out ways to do it, and then we come up with the pen pal idea. And so I mean, it was a lot of gymnastics to get truth or dare and the original stuff into the film, but it worked out really, really, really well. I thought it worked out really well, and honestly, I think the reason why it worked out so well was because of the cast members, and specifically because of Jeffrey Hawkins, who plays Elliot, because he really brought something special to that role. He really got it, and he's a tremendous actor. He's acting in New York still. But the idea of that, it's hard when you're talking about bringing in a teenager, and working with that conceit. But we were able to make it work. And so nothing against Tim. I'm sorry, Tim. I did not watch your movie. It's no disrespect intended whatsoever. It was just like, I'm off on my island saying I'm going to make this Hitchcock thriller, and here's all the studios giving me all these notes that I have to do, and I'm like, all right, but I'm still making my movie. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's why Yvette was not happy with me, because I wasn't a yes person. I wasn't a filmmaker that just said, I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to give you everything you want. Because that's just not me. And that wasn't the kind of film I wanted to make. So yeah, but no, but there were some pretty gruesome images in that 15-second scene, the barbed wire and the naked girl, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, but it was, yeah, we did go through it and find like some really ghastly stuff in those things. So I mean,
Sure.
Credit to those filmmakers who love doing those things and love making those movies. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't my bag.
For sure. And what's kind of funny is, so those scenes are actually from the other Truth or Dare too. It's not Truth or Dare. And just a personal note for myself, I actually used some of those same scenes in a movie that I made because I'm really good friends with director Tim Ritter, and we made a movie together called Zombrella's House of Horrors. And so he let me use some footage from that in one of the stories in that film, which was lots.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I'm glad Tim is still being creative and still being productive, and I certainly never meant to get in on his deal. All right, I just want to point that out. It was just like, here's a title, we want to sequelize it, make this work. Okay, and it's a Rubik's cube then at that point to do it. So
right. Now you kind of mentioned the cast a bit, and yeah, I kind of agree. Jeffrey Hawkins, is that it?
Jeffrey Hawkins, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much almost steals the show. I mean, he's so great. Like, was he one of those actors that you had worked with on your previous film?
You mean the best movie ever made?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, when I made the best movie ever made, Tony, right?
Sorry.
I know it's really tough to go from the best movie ever made as your first film. Got to be honest with you, because it's just like Orson Welles and Citizen Kane. Yeah, he was in one of their comedy sketches, and I knew him from local theater here in town. And so he was our first choice, and he jumped on the movie. The neat thing about this film, just to let you know, is that there was a budget. Yvette did give us money. Right. And that we were able to pay all of our actors, which everyone knows is really, I mean, that's, especially, in this world of SOV horror, to actually have a budget was pretty amazing. But Jeffrey, I mean, he and I really started, we really worked together. We worked really hard on timing and working on the character, and his instincts as an actor were just fabulous. And my favorite moment is when I turned him loose. If you go through the film, there's a scene when he's got Melissa tied up in the living room. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh yeah.
Melissa's tied up in the living room, and Elliot, it's all one take. and we're just cameras following Elliot as he goes around. And we had you know, we had the script obviously, and of course Jeffrey's off book because that's what every great actor does. And I took him aside and I said, you go. I'm not going to tell you the blocking. All I'm going to tell you is we're going to follow you, and I want to see where your instincts go. And I went down and talked to Candace. I said, Candace, I'll be honest with you. I have no idea what he's about to do. All right. And that to me, like, that's really scary. Okay. And so that, when we finish that scene, and if you go see the scene, I mean, it's intense, right? I mean, you like the scene, I hope. Yeah. She was really crying in that scene. Like, she was so freaked out because he could have done anything. He could have attacked her. He could have hit her, because he was just, I mean, he was so in the moment. And that's really what I think that, you know, like directors and actors, when they work together, that's what they strive for. You know, they trust each other. They trust each other implicitly. And so I handed him the reins and said, I got your back, man. If this doesn't work, I'll let you know, but let's see what we can come up with. And it was, I think we did take it a second time because there's one cut in the scene. And, but I mean, that was his baby. And no, I was really, really proud of that. I was really proud of the work that he did in that scene. And I mean, in the entire film, he just really kept up a great intensity. And as everyone knows, if you've got a horror film, you have to have a good bad guy. If you don't have a good bad guy, you don't have a movie. And so, and a memorable one at that. And, you know, with a film like ours, it's difficult. It's not, you know, it's not Jason in a mask, you know, it's not Mike Myers, you know, where everyone's playing off of just that fear. You know, when you've got talking about, you know, a psychological thriller, I mean, there's a lot more work that needs to be done to be able to get the audience into a state where they're truly fascinated about what's going on.
Right. No, and I'm glad you kind of mentioned that scene, because that scene definitely is a standout. And you, like you said, you see her performance in that scene, and it's very visceral. You know, she's very I mean, excuse my language, but she looks like she's gonna shit her pants or something. You know, she plays it very well. Both of them in that scene are just really good, and it's such a great scene. And I think ultimately that's what sets the film apart from a lot of the other SOVs. Like I said, is the really strong acting performances and having such good actors involved, and then obviously a good director behind the helm. Letting them do their thing. I think I've directed some stuff, and I by no means consider myself even a director really, but is giving first casting actors that you can trust to bring something to that performance, you know, and then secondly, you know, giving them that opportunity and them actually doing a good job with it and understanding the material and really relating and understanding the characters and all that.
Well, you know, I mean, we were really fortunate. I mean, so Joey McKitch, who plays Jack Grady, I mean, he's a theater veteran. He was in LA. He was doing acting in LA. I knew him because he also was in Best Movie. And, you know, the thing about Hitchcock films is that one of the basic themes of Hitchcock films is, you know, innocent, you know, it's the innocent man on the run trying to prove he's not guilty, you know? But the other part is also this idea about regular guy thrust into a situation that they don't know how to deal with. And so, you know, in casting Joey, honestly, it's just like with Hitchcock and Jimmy Stewart, you're looking for someone that is nice, a good person, you know what I mean? Someone who doesn't come off, someone that the audience can root for. And so, and Joey brought a great perspective on that, you know, and just as the movie goes on, I mean, you can just see like the wheels start turning and the knobs start tightening with him. And when he starts losing it, I mean, you totally buy. I mean, there's the scene like at the phone. There's the phone call scene when Elliot is on the payphone, which again is one of I love shooting that one. Jay Holben, who lit that. And we were, at this convenience store at the payphone. And we, if you watch that scene, like, you know, all the headlights that's a light gag that we did, you know, the lighting is fabulous in that scene. And then him going over and pounding on the trunk to shut up. But Jack's performance on the other side, you know, like he's truly freaked out. And I think you really buy that, you know, because, because Melissa's gone. And then I mean, Jack's life just completely turns to shit
Right.
because of this one thing. And it's not, honestly, it's not the fact, if you look at the story, it's not the fact that he found this book and he lifted it for his novel. To me, the sin is lying about it. One line begats another lie, and suddenly it's a cascading effect. And once you've sort of crossed that line, like, you can't stop it. And that's what happens to Jack. And I think Joey really, really hit that. And the other, I mean, Candace was fabulous as Melissa. I think we did a casting call and found Candace. Robin Allen, who plays Gail, his editor, like, she's like a real, like, equity actor, like, like a real, like, one of the major actors, here in Arizona, and been for a really long time. And so, yeah, I mean, it was, getting that core group together, and then Delana, who plays the girlfriend, the slut. Okay, again, and that's a terrible thing to say. But I remember Yvette was very, very specific. She's like, "Where's the sex in this movie?" I'm like, "What? You want me to do sex?" And she's like, "Yeah, I want sex in this movie." I'm like, "You want nudity?" She's like, "You got to do something. All right." Something I want something to turn me on. I'm like, okay, Yvette. So I kind of came up with that almost blowjob scene. And of course, with Elliot, freaking in the window watching the whole thing, which is such a Hitchcock voyeur thing. She just, everybody in Jack's world is completely devastated because of this one thing that happens. And I mean, the cast is right. I think I agree with you. That's one of the reasons the film holds up, is because the cast is solid, and technically, I mean, the film it's all there.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a very engaging story, and like you said, it's really kind of the journey of Jack Grady, and like you mentioned, the scene with the kind of I guess, quote unquote, slut, that he, that's kind of one of those moments in the story where you do realize, like, hey, he's kind of he's going too far. And like you said, because he continues to lie, and because Elliot even has that line in the where he's like, he's like, "You stole my life," something along the lines of and I'm forgetting it now.
You stole my life. And
it was something along the lines of him. He was just looking for that validation to say, "You stole my book." You
stole my book. Yeah, tell the truth.
I stole your book. It goes and tells the truth, that it would have all been okay. But instead, Jack wants to hide it from his family, and his friends, and everyone.
Because the name of the movie is Truth or Dare 2. You tell the truth. If you don't tell the truth, here comes the dare. Right? I dare you to die. Right? I mean, that's the movie. I mean, and thematically, it really all fits. The production. The production of the movie was pretty crazy too. So yeah, we could talk about that if you want.
Yeah, for sure. Like, how long of a shoot did you guys do? And kind of what was your budget on the film?
Well, you never talk budget, Tony. Okay, but I can tell you,
we talk budget on this show all the
time. It was a pretty sizable budget. I'll be honest with you. Yeah. It was less than 50 grand, but it was more than 10. Okay, I'll say that. And I think it's all up on the screen. But here's the thing. It was 10 days, man. The 10-day shoot. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I remember, like, we were running so behind. It was like day 9 that we did a 16-hour day. And my DP comes to me and he goes, "I hate you." He goes, "This entire crew hates you right now. I just want to let you know that." And I'm like, I know. I mean, this is the worst. And we had like an 8-hour turnaround after to get the last day. But I mean, there's some like good set pieces in that. Like, there's the whole resort conference ballroom scene. Like, there's like 50 extras in that. There's the book signing scene. There's like 30 extras in that. And if you go through, there is a ton of locations in this movie. Like, there's a lot of, luckily, Yvette's house is Jack Grady's house in the movie. And so we were able to stay there for a lot. But I remember, I think on that 16-hour day, we ended up doing 65 setups.
Wow.
Yeah, it was insane. It was 65 shots, 45 setups. All I remember is Jay was really pissed, and so was Brad, the AD or art director, and yeah, Chip, Dex Craig, yeah. But it's like, I mean, you're in the foxhole and you're dedicated to making a good movie, like whatever it takes. You know what I mean? Like you sacrifice. Um, I saw that. I mentioned the director's commentary. Like I ended up not getting paid on it because I wanted a really good sound mix. We actually went to a professional sound studios. Slobodan Popovic. We went into an actual sound mixing studio. We just didn't do it at our cuts only place, and we ran it through Pro Tools, which I'd never really been involved in that before. And I'm like, oh my God, like that was amazing to me. So I mean, that was the kind. I mean, that's why it really makes me happy when you say that it, all those years ago, like you saw it and it really struck you as a good film, and people are coming back now to the movie. I mean, it's a real testament, I think, to the hard work, the artisan, the craftsmanship, that people who, are all on the same page about making a movie, everyone believes in it, and is willing to personally sacrifice, time and money and resources to bring that vision to life for people. I mean, I think there's something to be said about that. And I applaud every filmmaker who gets a movie done, because that's exactly what they've done. I know that's what you have to do. You have to sacrifice everything to bring your vision to life. And I was very fortunate on writer's block to be surrounded by a bunch of people who really all believed in telling this story and telling it in the best way possible.
Right. Yeah. No, everyone did really great. And it's funny you mentioned the sound mix, because it does have a really good sound mix. And one of the problems we had when we went to make the DVD is we did source it from the original digibeta that you had. But the soundtrack was pretty much missing. And so thanks to Steven Ferrandino, who actually put us in contact together, I was able to Frankenstein pretty much 2 VHS audio sources, remaster them, and kind of re-layer it on the film, because it was.
Yeah, I remember that there was some. Yeah, you had some issues. It's because it was like something about the digibeta deck wasn't reading the multi-track and all that stuff.
Possibly, yeah.
It's like a 4-channel mix. I don't remember.
We had a similar issue, so we did another Dead Alive release, a film called Mr. Ice Cream Man.
Oh, I remember that movie.
Yeah, similar thing. And that one I actually captured myself on a digibeta at my work. And yeah, it was a full, 4-channel capture machine, and nothing.
Didn't read it. Yeah.
We do a similar thing on that one. And, but obviously we're more than happy to do it. And I think with the remaster we did on the sound, it sounds, really good. And
can't tell. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the other thing too about post, by the way, is that we actually took it to Burbank. They had a digital process, which now is super easy if you have any, if you have Premiere or Final Cut or Avid, called Film Look. I don't know if you remember Film Look, Tony.
Oh yes.
Yes. What you shot on video, run it through our digital processor, and we'll down-res it to 24 frames, and we'll give and we'll do film grain on it. Right. I mean, we did everything we could to make that the best looking movie we possibly could. And like I said, the only thing that's wrong with that movie is it's shot on video. But again, if it wasn't for that, it would be dead, and you'd have the mantle on it. But yeah, I mean, this was a calling card for us. This was what was supposed to be our next step. And I mean, I did get a chance to do another feature after this and another feature after this. So, I mean, this was a great step. I never did, like I said, I'm writing horror films now. I never did directed another horror film. But the next one I did was like a sci-fi drama, and then I did a documentary. But that everyone has to look at it as a film, if you're a filmmaker, as an opportunity to tell a story the best way that you possibly can, the most professional. You get the best cast. Like, cast is so crucial. But the idea is that you make a film that's so good that you get a chance to make another movie. And that's really what I think all filmmakers are striving for. And that's for us, that movie did this for sure.
Right. Now, have you ever kind of contemplated, like, what if you did have an opportunity to shoot the movie on film? Do you think it would have been more successful than it probably was?
I don't honestly, from a technical craftsmanship standpoint, I think looking at the film now, I know that the film aesthetically would have been better because it would have been shot on film. Problem is that was not the business model that Dead Alive employed. They did not do film. That was not what they did. They acquired movies that were shot on video because they were less expensive. They produced movies. They didn't produce this. The thing about this movie, which is kind of different from a lot of the Dead Alive titles, is that Dead Alive paid for this movie, Tony.
Right.
This was an actual produced by Dead Alive Productions. And that's another reason why Yvette was really mad, because she's like, I'm putting my own money into this, and you are supposed to do everything I tell you, and you're not. And that's what really is making me mad, because, and that's the thing. She was really, really happy with the movie. And I know the sales were great on that movie, like great. Yeah. But she was like, you know what? She goes, we don't want to make another movie with you because the sales are terrible. And so, we're not going to do our the rest of our agreement. I'm like, oh, that really, that was hard to, it was not that we wouldn't be working with her again, but the fact that she said the sales were disappointing because I know she was not representing, accurately what, because if it's in every video, if it's in Blockbuster Video, Tony, it's across the country. Don't, it's probably, it's doing just fine. Okay. So, that was the biggest thing we've lost. We've lost thousands and thousands of dollars. We'll never make our money back. And I'm looking at her going, you are such a liar, lady. Really? So, but that's distributors for you sometimes, unfortunately.
I always tell any beginning filmmaker to never take a back-end deal, especially with independent companies, because you rarely see anything. I mean, I know I've been ripped off in that myself, so.
Oh, yeah, you can't. Yeah, there's no accounting for the numbers. You can't. If you can get upfront money, if you get a flat purchase, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. It's really hard, especially, because distributors can fudge the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
so that, no, you're not making money. It's like, well, no, I mean, why, what do you mean I'm not making money? And they can show you the sales numbers, but they're like, oh, but here's all the overhead that we used to market your film. And so you actually still owe us money. And it's just like, are you kidding me? So, yeah, I teach producing over at Arizona State University, and I learned a lot. I've learned a lot from every project I've ever done. And that is the biggest thing for me that I tell my student filmmakers is you need to figure out distribution first. You need to go and see if you can get a distributor to sign on, attach cast, go to distributors, negative pickups, overseas. You've got to get distribution figured out first. Don't go make a movie and then go find distribution, because, that's how you end up with, putting a movie on your credit cards and and losing everything. I've heard horror stories about people who do that. They want to make their passion project. They put all this money in, got, mortgaged his house, and got a second mortgage on his house. This one guy I remember, and it was like $75,000, and gone. Couldn't get distribution. And it's like, unfortunately, and that was the big thing I think along the way. And if you've got, filmmakers who are listening to this, is like, you have to treat it like a business. You can't just, everyone wants to tell stories. Everyone wants to make movies. Everybody wants to make movies. It's the greatest art form in the world. It's the greatest collaboration in the world. It's the greatest industry, but it's like, if you don't treat it like a business from day one, that's the most important thing. You got to figure out the business first, and then you get to go have fun and make a movie.
Right. Yeah. And I've actually interviewed quite a few people who either worked at Dead Alive or were involved with Dead Alive. And they definitely do not have a very good reputation when it comes to dealing with the filmmakers. So,
well, I know Darren Ramage really well. I see him very often. And, when Dead Alive was going, he was like an EV. He was the VP of development. Passionate, smart. I'm really happy to see the success he's done with Brain Damage. He's kept alive, the tradition of SOV horror, which is great. But in my dealings with him, he's always been a straight shooter. So I mean, I hope that other people have had that experience.
I've heard, everyone seems to like, Darren, and I've I've talked to Darren a few times. Great guy, really nice guy. But I've heard a lot of horror stories about that. I don't want
Oh
to
my gosh.
repeat too many of them because I don't have firsthand knowledge myself. But people shared some pretty nasty stories
I,
with me about
I'm going to, I really hope that Yvette does not listen to this or watch this, but I'm going to tell one amazing story. So I was at Yvette's office, and she was touting something, and she's like, I got all these scripts I'm going through. All right, I got this stack of scripts. And I just happened to pick up the top script on her thing, and I looked at it, it was a script that she had written. I'm like, oh, I turned the page and I immediately recognized it. Two of my friends wrote the script. She stole the script, took off their cover page, put her down. And it was super, I mean, so I called up my buddies and I'm like, have you been dealing with Yvette Hoff? And they're like, yeah, we gave her a script, had a meeting with her, and it doesn't look like anything's happening. I'm like, oh, brother, let me tell you, something is happening. She's sending out your script with her name on it, and they lost it. Like, it was bad. Like, they sued her. Okay. So it's like, so yeah, you have to be careful, distributors, studio, producers, because there's so much money involved in this business, Tony, that people are willing to do things that aren't necessarily the most ethical,
Sure.
To be successful. And so all filmmakers, it's like, put your business hat on along with your artsy hat, because you need them both to be able to survive making movies.
For sure. And even today, it's so much more difficult because you don't have the rental chains anymore. You don't have all these outlets to sell the product as a distributor. And so there's even less and less money in the game. So even less and less for the filmmakers themselves when they eventually do sell their film to a distributor.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, when you're talking about getting things streaming, working with aggregators, iTunes, it's a whole different distribution model now than what it used to be. And and you hit it on the head. It has limited filmmakers and how to get their films out, and that kind of thing is just, that's the worst thing, because you have this desire to make a movie, and at the least, everyone can self-distribute your movie on Amazon Prime. You can be your own, aggregator on Amazon Prime, if you want to. You always have to be thinking about, how am I going to get your film out? And, and sometimes your idea may not be sellable.
Right.
And if you can't get a distributor excited about your idea, man, it's like, what are you going to do? Like, should you make that movie? And that's a hard thing for people to think about. I mean, but like I said, I've done other film projects. I've strictly produced films. It's tough. George Clooney had this. There's a doc I show my producing students, and it's like, there are so many things that can go wrong in making a film. Mm-hmm. Bad cast, shot poorly, bad music, bad locations, bad effects, bad marketing, bad distribution. He goes, when it's, there's so many bad things. He goes, but when it works, it's amazing. And he goes, and it all starts with a good script. Mm-hmm. You can't make a good movie with a bad script. And so yeah, if you're a writer, you definitely have opportunities to be able to get your horror works out there. But yeah, the script was good for our film. We felt really good about it. We weren't going to put something out there that we would never want to embarrass ourselves as filmmakers, because you only get one shot. You know what I mean? When you're making movies, like, if you make a bad movie, like, to get someone to like give you money to make another bad movie, that just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, you need to you need to either have a financial return, or better be a really well-made film to get someone to want to work with you again. So it's like, what do you have to do to raise your game? And so we put every dollar that we had on the screen into our movie. And I'm excited that you found it, and Stephen found it. Stephen was one of my former students at ASU. Right. Tony, I got to be honest, the funniest thing, because he worked for Darren at Brain Damage, and I helped him get that internship. And one day he comes into my office and he's like, "Hey, professor." I'm like, "Hey, Stephen." He's like, I go, "How's it going?" He's like, "Oh, it's great." He goes, "I got something for you," and he puts down the VHS copy, just like the one you have. And I'm like, "Oh my God, where did you get that?" He's like, Oh, I watched it. He goes, "This is a good movie." I'm like, "Oh, well, thank you." He goes, and he goes, "Will you sign my copy?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Steven, you're totally embarrassing me." And so I did, which was fun. And the fact that you two hooked up, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, this movie my professor did," and you're like, "I know this movie." I'm like, that's just the magic of this industry, and the magic of horror fans getting together. It's really special what we were able to do here.
Well, for sure. And we ended up actually putting out a movie that Steven did a short in. I think I actually have it here. Yeah. I was a teenage gorehound, which is a movie he made when he was just a teenager. And he shot some newer scenes just recently to kind of fill it out a little bit, but we put that out, which is a really fun movie. It's really cool. And
That's
Steven's a
awesome.
great guy, really big, passionate fan of the genre, and a very talented guy as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, since kind of writer's block, you've done a lot of stuff. I know, like, it seems like you're mainly focusing on writing at this point. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I directed two more features. I did this drama that I shot in L.A., and then I did this documentary, which was a crazy documentary. It was called 14 Days in America, and literally we went across the country from coast to coast in 14 days and shot a documentary. Which I recommend don't do that because you end up sleeping in motorhomes. And the worst part, the East Coast is fine. When you get past St. Louis and start going in the mid, like Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Vegas. Oh my, it's just like, it's ridiculous. So I did that, but you know what? Honestly, what I tell people is that I had kids. I had kids, and for me as a director, and you direct too. Um, Directing is such a put your heart and soul 100% into your work as an artist. And like everyone else, I had a dysfunctional childhood. And so I said, if I'm going to, I want my heart and soul to go to my kids.
Right.
But I still love this industry. So that's why I switched to producing. And then my joke is because I was, I was basically producing and directing my own movies anyway, with help, of course. Is that producers write the budget, and that way I knew I was going to actually get paid this time. So I produced a bunch of low budget, micro budget films. I did Brian Polito's feature. If you know Brian Polito, who did Lady Death, I did his feature with Tony Todd called The Graves. Did a movie, produced a movie called Nether Beast Incorporated. That had like Daryl Hammond in it and Dave Foley and Jason Mewes. So I mean, there's some good high profile projects that we did. And then I met my writing partner actually at ASU, Joe Russo, and we just sort of hit it off. He was doing a short film, and he told me about the short film script he was working on. I'm like, oh, that's a terrible idea for a short film. I said, I have a better one. Let me give you this script. And the script was awesome, and it was a horror film, which I know you're saying I don't get it. You're writing these horror films. You say you don't like horror movies, but I wrote this horror film, and it's really good. Basically, it was the conceit to me was, and when I do horror writing, I try to explain this. Like when I do horror writing, I have a very vivid imagination. I said, what are two things that really scare me? And so I had this image of being tied to a dining room table in my underwear. Okay. Because you don't know what's going to happen, man. You're splayed out on a table. And then the other thing was old cannibals, like elderly cannibals. Because if you think about elderly cannibals, Tony, they've been eating people for a long time.
Right.
So I took those two ideas and I put this movie together, and I gave the script to Joe, and he loved it. And so he ended up directing that movie that I wrote. And it went out to it got on 35 film festivals. It was on 80 Cool News when that was a thing. And so we started putting together work for a feature. And so we've been writing since 2009. At this moment, we've written 15 feature scripts,
Wow.
3 pilots. And of those 15, and we're actually finishing 2 now, and we have one that's ready to go to market. We've had 2 of them One was optioned once, and that was turned into this movie that we did with Emmett Furlow that Bruce Willis was in, which is not a good movie on Netflix. All right, so if you want to see a bad movie starring Bruce Willis, big shock, they're all on Netflix. So called Hard Kill. We did that. We've had this horror movie that we just papered, and that was optioned 4 times. And it's the 5th producer finally is going to make that movie in November. We had a script that we sold to Netflix last year, and they actually shot that movie in June, and that's going to come out in October 22. It's currently titled The Last Will and Testament of Charles Abernathy. It's a low budget film, like less than 7 million, I think. But supernatural horror film. And so, yeah, I mean, basically, producing, Tony, I'm sure you know this, and anyone who's, knows filmmaking. So he started directing, and then producing, have to necessitate the directing, then just producing, all you do is you chase money. That's all producers do, is chase money. That's what Orson Welles said, is that filmmaking is 10% art, 90% chasing money. And so it's like, I got tired of chasing money, especially in Arizona, where there's no movie film production incentives. Can't raise money where people that can't see money coming back. And, so that's why everyone goes to New Mexico now, because they have a great rebate system. So, basically it's like I got tired of producing, and then this writing thing, and I've been teaching at ASU, but I'm just, it's like you just have to keep pushing yourself, like always. Like if you love making stories, you gotta just keep making stories. You want to, you all you need is an iPhone. You want to go make a movie, get a good cast, get a good script, take your iPhone, and with some special lenses and a light kit and a boom and a recorder. So, but I mean, it's all out there. I mean, and that's, that's what I tell everybody who ever asks. It's like, how do I get started in the film business? Hey, go make a movie. Like, nobody's saying you can't make a movie. Like, you can do it with any equipment you have now. You can edit it on your computer. Just come up with a good story. Surround yourself with great collaborators. Find a cast and just do it. And just, don't just talk about it. And if it's good or bad, it doesn't matter, because if it's bad, that's okay. You go make another one and you learn from it. And that's what, Writer's Block, we're really proud of that film. And it's great to see, that people really still love the film all those years later.
Yeah, that's the, personally for me, that's what I always loved about shot on video movies, is when I'm just a huge horror fan myself. I'm the opposite of you. I love anything horror. And as a child, I had like 15 different video store memberships, and my poor mother would have to drive me all around San Diego to every video store, because I just had to see every horror movie ever made. It was
I love it.
And I discovered these shot on video movies, and what really stuck out to me, at first for a lot of people, and I think for me it was probably the same the first couple I saw, it was like, oh, these look cheap, it's on video, and my grandpa has a video camera kind of deal, and that's kind of, unfortunately, a lot of shot on video movies get a negative connotation just because of the format they're shot on. But once you start actually watching them, one thing I really love about them is they're completely unique pieces of art, because a lot of times they are made by fans of the genre. They're not made, they're not always produced, by a larger producer. It's not always a situation like it was for you guys with Writer's Block. But what's the coolest to me, and what was really cool for me, is like watching these movies as a kid. I grew up very poor. My family had no money. And it was like, it kind of gave me this idea, like, hey, I can make movies too if I wanted to. And this is still in the 90s. This is before mini DV and all that stuff. And it was just very inspiring to think like, hey, I see these guys doing this. Maybe I can do it too, And so I picked up a camera and I started making my own shorts. And, eventually I went to a film school myself. And now I work in the industry as well as an editor. And, it was just, shot on video movies were so influential to me. And I think movies like Writer's Block, especially a movie like Writer's Block, that kind of almost, I don't know if transcends the genre is quite the right term for it, but it definitely is a higher tier shot on video movie. It's very well produced, like I said, very good acting. I've always said, especially with movies like Writer's Block, if Writer's Block was shot on film, I think it'd be a horror classic today. I think you'd have fans talking about it more, but there is still a bias, unfortunately, against video movies.
Oh
But,
yeah.
I think some of the larger kind of horror DVD companies, would have been knocking down your door for Writer's Block because, if it was shot on 16 or 35 or any of that, because it's a great movie ultimately. But unfortunately, a lot of people do judge these movies because of the format they're shot on. And I especially love movies, like I said, that almost transcend the format. It's like, hey, you know what? You want to think this is a shitty video movie, but I got news for you. It's not. It's a very well produced, good made movie where if it was shot on 16 or 35, it probably would be considered a horror classic to many. So kudos to you. Kudos to your team. I mean, and I think I'm not the only one who probably rented Writer's Block as a teenager and said, wow, this is a great film. I really dig this. And maybe I can do something like this too. And that's what I think ultimately for me, and why I've dedicated myself to putting out shot on video movies, is strictly because there's no money in shot on video movies. I'll be quite honest with you.
This is a labor of love for you.
There's
Tony,
no
is what it is.
I do it because I love these movies and because I believe in them, and I want to share that with other people. And because to me, and even with this podcast, we do talk filmmaking and we talk techniques and kind of the behind the scenes of filmmaking, because to me, if we can inspire any kid to pick up a camera, their phone, whatever it might be. I know it's a lot easier today. Grab the phone, like if we can inspire people to do art, I think that's amazing,
I think, yeah, I mean, I think that you've done your job if you're able to do that. I mean, there's so, I mean, if you go through like our movie, like there's so many little cool things that we were able to do. And it's because we just wanted to try stuff. You know what I mean? Like we wanted to do stuff, and we didn't, when we went into it, we didn't think of this like this is a shot on video movie. We just thought it was a movie. You know what I mean? And so, and that's why it was so like seeing it on the Blockbuster video wall with all these other films. You're like, oh my gosh, like it is a real movie, So, I mean, yeah, I mean, as time has gone, and I don't think it's an issue. To me, it's like the problem is just that the quality of it magnetically doesn't hold the image. That's the thing. It just it wasn't meant to be, it was meant to be, it was SOV horror was the YouTube of its day. Pick up your camera, tell a story, don't worry about budget, just tell your story and get it out there. You know what I mean? And that, and to me, like that is a great thing. And to hear that that you saw this film and it helped you and inspired you in some way. I mean, Tony, that's no greater thing that you could say to me as an artist and as a person.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm so glad, and I thank you again for letting us put out the movie. And I didn't show off the amazing cover art, but I do want to show that.
Oh my gosh, yes!
And this was done by our regular artist Jason Gilmore, and he did an amazing job on this one. And it's a great package, people. If you haven't checked it out, I really highly recommend to check out Writer's Block, and not just because we put it out, honestly, because it's a great film, and I think you'll really enjoy it. And anything you want to plug or anything like that, Chris, before we kind of wrap up here?
If you watch the movie, please go on IMDb and rate it highly, okay? Because it's nice to see those numbers go up. Joe and I have a lot of stuff going on. I think just the biggest thing just to take away from this is that, bunch of young kids put together and made a movie, 25 years ago, and most of us are still in the industry today, and it's just like, if you believe in the stories that you tell and you have passion, like always, it doesn't matter how old you are. Okay. Don't think that you can't write a good script or you can't build a cast or build a crew and tell that story. I say, a life where you have any regrets is a life not fulfilled. And if you've always had a dream like you did to make a movie, like you go out and do it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's like your life is what you make of it. And you know what? Writer's Block and Yvette Hoffman and that whole thing wasn't the ideal. That's not how I imagined my feature film, my big Hitchcock suspense that we're rolling out. but it was an opportunity to make a movie that I knew was going to get seen by people, and you roll with the punches. And that's how filmmaking works. You roll with the punches. At the end of the day, you better make sure you finish that movie so that people can appreciate it.
Right, for sure.
So I get on my professor soapbox, Tony. I'm sure at this point everyone has shut this thing off and been like, stop preaching to us, man. Okay, we got it. We'll go make movies.
And if you do, folks, make sure you shoot it on video and send me a copy. Okay.
I think if you shoot it on 4K with your iPhone, it may have a little bit longer shelf life.
Maybe just a little.
Just a little bit. Tony, thank you so much, and I really appreciate everyone who who's watching the film, or maybe might be interested in watching the film after watching this. Like I said, I'm a big fan of director's commentary. Tony's all like, "Oh no, watch the original," but director's commentary is in black and white, so it kind of obscures some of the color fading issues that happen with the beta. So that's kind of why I went with that way, and I stuck some letterbox on it, so it looks like it's got more of a cinematic feel to it. So
right.
That's me. And then if you listen, you could prattle on, listen to me prattle for another hour and a half on the director's commentary. But I'm telling everyone we know, I did a big push on Facebook for it. I know that people are, watching the film, and I hope that I hope this film, it's enjoyed by your audience. And thank you for giving it a second life.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it.
And good luck with all the October releases. Buy more SOVHorror.com.
Yeah, keep us going, folks.
Keep us going.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Chris. And hey, everyone, thanks for listening, watching, and be sure to subscribe and all that fun stuff. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.
All right. Take care.